Hello everyone, welcome to Ring Diaries here at Church of Uganda Family TV with me, Phiona Mbowa, where we talk about anything and everything to do with marriage. We bring you real people sharing real experiences to make our marriages better. And today, as we celebrate Father's Day, we are here with a father, one of the best fathers I know, by the way. And we're just going to discuss about mental health and men and any issue that is about men, our husbands, our brothers, our friends, and to see how we can make all these things better in our lives. And with me today is Mr. David Kabiswa. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Good to be here. Greetings to all of you.
Mr. Kabiswa has been married for 32 years. I envy people who are that, who have been married that long.
Yes.
How has 32 years been in
32
marriage?
years. It's an interesting question. There are some people who say you live, you get married for 4 years and you repeat the rest. But 32 years it's been a journey.
Okay.
A lot of learning, a lot of growing, a lot of being deliberate. And for me, one of the things that has helped me is to always seek information. Let me tell you. Many years ago, when I was at campus, a man met me reading a book.
At campus?
Yes, by a small book by Paul Tournier. I remember the author. It was called Marriage Difficulties. I was there reading.
At campus, you're reading marriage difficulties?
The man came and said, "How can you read Man Difficulties? Have you?" I said, "Sir, I don't have problems when I get there." But I didn't know that a bit of me likes self-development, improvement, and I've always known that take books like a conversation.
Okay.
What is this person saying? What is that one saying? So that has helped. Have they always been, marriage, it's always a learning process.
Yeah.
Good days, bad days, winning days, boy days. When you're the husband, but you have quarreled over and you really have been a boy. and then...
You also know those things that you can be a boy.
I know those things you can be a boy because and what does a boy mean? Oh, say handbrake just because I can. There's a certain time I met a Muzungu man, a family man, and he told me, I told God I don't want to exasperate my children. Okay. Exasperate Then he told me, it basically means I am bad because I can be bad. And I think that sometimes that can be a masculine thing because it's just something in you. Because you can do it, I will
Why
do it.
not? Let me do it.
Yeah. Is it helping anybody? No. Why? Just.
I have
as
said
the
so.
.com would say. I've said so. So sometimes, those days come. Then you get silent treatment. Then it's always those going to break the silent treatment. So those cycles have come, but have grown stronger. As the children grow, you also have the feeling that I've got to be, a good example. I grew up in a family of boys only, no girls. I'm a father of girls only. So it's
the adjustment.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. Love is too much.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
A father and his daughters.
But you kind of feel, excuse me, this is because we're not. Girls are very expressive.
Very.
Yeah, that's we're not. Dad, Vaseline here, do this. Dad, Dad. I'm saying yes.
Doesn't it seem like competition with their mother at some point?
At some, as you get older, when you're younger, all the movie hug, and those sorts of things. As you get older, you're a little bit more proper. So now that role is played by the daughters. So in a sense, there is no competition, but you have to be alert. Because sometimes the children can answer certain things because they know you're dad.
And dad can't say no.
Yeah, so you've got to be alert. And sometimes they want to know what dad is saying as versus mom. Some of those we've tried to go through, like one of the things I've tried in the past, children should never know where money comes from. All right? Because they don't have to go swimming, go ask your dad. They don't have to go ask your dad. Sometimes I talked to my wife and said, Madam, if you think they should go swimming, say I'll sort it out.
Where I get the money is none of their business.
Right? But don't send them to dad because what you're sending is a communication message that the man is the provider. And I know even though society tells us that the man is the provider, we've got to be careful. Provider of what? Money? Do you know that most men provide money?
Just money and that's it.
And then they provide no leadership. Okay, mine are girls. So one of the things we did one time, they read about these things like purity ring. So I don't know about it, but I thought,
Yeah, bazungu.
Zungu. Then one time I realized, but if I was talking about sexual purity, it has to be dads. So went somewhere, took them out, talked about this thing, put the ring on them. Of course, in the heart, I'm just there feeling it,
Am I black
yeah,
anymore?
but on the surface, it's dark. Yeah. But I realized after it's done, it's done. But that also means that you've opened up a place where, should they have any problems in relationships, they can come to you and their mom, and they do that. How many men do that? And it's possibly easier for girls because you're going to think, girls, if she gets pregnant, okay? What about your boy who's going impregnating other people? Isn't that risk there? Or you're just going to think, let them sow oats. Or because if you're Christian, I'm a Christian father, this behavior cannot be in my home. So you don't talk about it because you assume that they've got your values. No, you've got to talk. And who's going to teach them leadership? Who's going to teach them work ethics? Who's going to teach them? That's the role of the father.
But then recently I was talking to my children at school, and something happened, and the girls were really scared. But the boys, so a particular boy, he was all asking, your friends are crying. He's like, no, I'm a man, I don't cry.
Yeah.
This is a boy of 10 years.
Yeah.
Why has society given us that image that the boy is supposed to be macho, not tears? Why?
It's that my perspective on that. That's a deep question. I think part of it, as some people say, is evolution. And what I mean by that is this: when you go back to the days of Ali Man or our grandparents, the roles they did, they used to do hunting.
Yes.
You've got to be tough. You've got to be firm. And they say that we're a sum total of a lot of those genetic things down the road. So sometimes we do things, we call them DNA, we call them what, but it's because they've been influenced by how our people lived in the past. So in those sorts of places, we had to be strong. For example, skin. A man's skin is harder than a woman's skin.
Is it?
It is. And what happens when you read these, those sociology and all those anthropology, what are they saying? If you're chasing an animal and you're rushing through these thorns and thickets, you've got to keep going, not ouch. You are chasing the animal. So the skin is different. And you can also find that even sometimes our men look after themselves, not as delicate as women. Sometimes you can struggle, even me. You struggle to put Vaseline and you say, guys, give me peace. And then the daughters are saying, your skin is peeling off. I say, well, Nagi. So the bit of it is that kind of
genetics.
Thing. All right? If you're going down, it's genetics. They say there's genetics, and then there's something they call social epigenetics. That it's not just genetics, but the social living and how we do also participates. If an Mbale, for example, a man has to be strong. I'm talking about those cultures.
The physical strength.
Which take circumcision. Do you know that when you go for circumcision, you're not supposed to cry?
But why? This thing is painful. Okay, isn't it? It's painful like this.
And now, it's good you've said that. In the past, in the traditions, they say there's a difference between what you call boy psychology. How boys are and how men are. But do you know, they had transition processes. Like even in Ibale there, I worked there for some time. I'm not from there, but I worked there for some time. What they used to do, they take men away. They take them, give them education, treat them as men, do whatever. And then circumcision could be the climax. And in some places, they could even start telling you, these are the things of men. Then they tell you,
so now you're no longer a boy.
You're no longer a boy. There's a definite transition point. In the Maasai, part of that transition is you go and hunt a lion.
To show that now you've become a man.
You've transitioned. So those societies needed strong people. If you're hunting, you've got to be quiet.
Yeah.
You've got to be strong. You can't just come on, I saw the lion coming, and then you shout, Gui. That's society. Mumami. That's society. Now, that was a society. So society started changing a bit.
Okay.
But that DNA in us has not necessarily changed. Those perceptions are there. Boys don't cry. When you see a cockroach, you don't. If the boy, because he has been around mommy and mommy is always jumping, if he's learning that thing, the dad comes and says, hey, stop. All right? There is an area of strength because if you're going to do the role of protecting, you've got to, you've got to be strong. Now, it can get a little bit complicated when it gets into the modern world. Because now at home, you can play that kind of role. In the office, maybe
You're the boss.
yeah, the boss. Or even if you're not the boss, you're succumbing to the boss. So you don't know to show those strong things. So maybe that kind of anger, you can, bring it home. So men are conditioned to be strong, but they should be good men with strength. And that's what the transition between boy and man meant. Control your emotions. And amazingly, many of the transitions between boy and to adult involved pain. And that's why, like in the Bagisu there, and I think the same in the Bamba, and maybe even the Kapchoro people, you're supposed to show the ability to withhold pain. Stand there. People are watching as they, cut off your skin. Yeah. You see? Now even that thought of it for you. Take it out. As a woman, struggling. Yeah. So there's that kind of stuff. So men are supposed to be, to play certain roles like protection, guidance. Now I'll tell you, I have only girls. I don't know whether that's a good thing to say, but I trained them that if they are, this is how you box this out. Because when I grew up,
you had an girl.
As hardening the girl, I didn't want the girl to think that I'm always going to be at the mercy of boys. Because at the same time, they get bullied by boys, and sometimes they get bullied when they shouldn't be. So my girls, yeah, she told me she used it once, and they just knew that one, yeah. But you need to see balance. You don't have to, get a violent person who every time thinks that violence is the way to.
Yes,
But I think any man, and that's the father's role, is to make sure that you defend your children, but also give them certain skills of how to defend themselves, but also to have the wisdom to have balance.
And how do you get that balance? Because right now I'm seeing that the men you're talking about who are in the offices, men are breaking down because they're bottling down so many things.
Yes. About men breaking down, this is my perspective, gathering it from a couple of things. The society has changed.
Yes, it has.
The society where we used to do hunting and stuff like that is completely different. The society in the market is completely different. There you can still have some hustle. There are some societies which need hustle. There are some societies which do not need the physical hustle, but they need the mental hustle. But the problem is most people are not observing those sorts of changes. So if you're from that society, like if you're hunting something, you're supposed to be quiet. Technically, otherwise the prey will run away, and then you bring that thing into the workplace, and particularly because men are not brought up, boys are not brought up. I grew up in a family of boys only, and once in a while they tell you don't do this, but by and large, boys grew up on their own. If you compare them to girls, they're told, is that how you're going to do it in your marriage? Is that how you're going to do this? Is that how? So without knowing it, even if the words seem too many, the girls are getting training.
The boys are not.
Into responsibility. The boys are getting training. Unfortunately, they're getting training into I can do what I want to do and I want to do. Because whatever you get used to becomes your habit. Now, when you come into the workplace, the boss has shouted, this and this has happened. You don't know how to handle. We don't know how to confide. But also, even if I wanted to confide somewhere, we don't know how to select who will look at me and respect my thing and not laugh at me. Because a bit of us, you got to be strong. But also the thing is, there's what I call different horsepower. The problem is that sometimes, because we come from a culture of being strong, many men do not know who to be vulnerable to. And you want to be vulnerable, but to who?
And who will say what?
Who will say what? Because, and sometimes we can look at a nation of horsepower, meaning the ability for different people to handle things. Somebody who grew up in the village struggling, and somebody who grew up in the town, even if they're working in the same organization, the one in the village sometimes has more resilience. So if this person of town went and shared with another man, his problems might look trivial.
Given that, just that.
Exactly. And once they say that, it pushes you further. The other thing that I find is that even if you got a man to talk to, many men don't know how to talk back and help you. Okay?
Like even the people you're seeking help from,
they
don't have help for you.
I've gone through challenges in my life, and I did ask some people to walk alongside me and and help out, and they just never did. All right, they just never did. And then for me, it should be something. They either don't know because they think you should know better. They either think, or maybe they thought you're better than us, or what will I say, or they bury their head in the sand hoping that thing will pass. One of them, 35 years later, he still hasn't come. All right, he still hasn't come. So one of the things that I think that men need to also be, get skills of how to listen to people that are struggling.
But you also know that men sharing problems is a problem.
Men sharing problems is a problem because we are quiet. And a lot of the thing, they say a couple of things. Men are quiet, but men are also solo. They really move more solo. Women like collaboration, cooperation. So they always have somebody, even when they're going to the bathroom, even in a hotel.
You need to escort
them. So there's that solidarity thing. Now, men can have those sorts of groups, and sometimes the content and depth of the discussion is not that deep. They're laughing, they're doing one. Somebody could be hurting, but he feels he can't share it there. All right? And that's what the thing that confuses many. But you've got those friends. Yes. But we all know which friends I can go to for what. We're very hierarchical. This one won't understand, this one won't understand. And because of that inner thing that we've been taught, sort out your problems. All right. Next, if you're to sort out your problems, when you're running a home, you'll be helping others sort out their problems.
And yours are not sorted at all.
So that's where it's a dilemma. But I think that in this modern day and age, that's where we need to show people how do you seek help, when do you seek help,
and from who,
you seek help. Then the fourth thing will probably be when somebody comes to you and seeks for help. How do you assist them?
Because it shocks me that you find a man has so many friends. They're watching football. Yeah. They are 10, and it actually he doesn't know their names. Like for me.
Yeah.
How?
Easy.
Mr. I'll be with you for a minute.
Boss.
Yeah, those are the names you call yourself.
Yeah. Engineer. Yeah. And it. But that's who we are, by the fact that I don't want to blame anything. I don't want to necessarily put it on nature, but that's what men are world over. There are some traits that you find typical of men, and that's basically one of them. Because they can get in a group and have some solidarity together, express, KCC, Manu, those sorts of things.
And when you see them talking, you can think these bonded people.
Yeah. Do you know that even a wife can be told by the husband that, hey, this is my best friend. He's my best friend, and in secondary school, and the wife has never heard of him.
Yes.
But when these people meet, it's like they just continue.
From where? It stopped in nursery school.
Everything goes on. That's how different we are. But how to turn those sorts of things, say, hey boss, I'm not doing well. But sometimes also because all of us are conditioned to handle our own things. But sometimes people want to know that if you are not doing well, it is for a short time. Before you say, now we are getting this, after we're helping you, then what starts going on? Kabiswa is not doing well. He's not doing well, and then everybody can start avoiding him. Because by nature, we're supposed to be problem solvers. So if somebody is perpetually not solving a problem, you get a label. So to avoid that, we get a label. But I would want to say that women are wired differently. And so the question you ask is going to be natural, and many women will ask it. And then how they ask it sometimes can also push somebody down. Because for you it is so obvious. You say, but can't you just talk? No, they can't. Is it by choice? No, it's not by choice. It's by design. And if men read more, if women read more, if they watched more of these TED Talks and stuff like that, they would know that we're wired to be different. And if somebody is not doing things the way you think they could, see how can I help them without necessarily first observing the, because when a man is vulnerable, they're already weak. If he has no money, if he has no whatever, and then when you add in, don't add salt to injury, but we've got to know, one, that we can work together. We're talking marriage, but sometimes actually marriages are competing. The spouses are competing.
In the marriage itself.
In the marriage. One, because of the nature, is that we are more solo, as I told you earlier. We're more independent, we're more individual. So sometimes you can compete without knowing. And that's why even issues like provision come in. That I'm providing. That's the hierarchy. If someone else is going to provide,
it becomes a problem. Who is it? Who is that?
Who? It shakes you a little bit. Who's that one providing? And then if they can provide more than you, then people can start giving themselves their own thoughts. A lot of this struggling, it is the thoughts you give yourself, the messages you give yourself, the quality of your thoughts, as some people call it. Now she's not going to respect me because she's earning. Now, you see. And sometimes that actually happens, and that's the problem. But sometimes it actually does happen. And
There's
people get
sometimes
evidence.
when it doesn't, actually.
There's sometimes when it doesn't. May I think things happen because the couple is making them happen. And that can be very tough. In management, they say all organizations are aligned to get the results they get. The way you're structured internally is,
leads to the
so
results.
those are so conflicting. Please know it, that the way you guys have structured yourself, that's the result that you're getting. So instead of going the natural route of you, it is he, she, we need to change that narrative. If you're a couple, please understand you're on the same side. If your man is a bully and whatever, study, know how to work,
With a bully.
And to help them change. Because we're not saying that because somebody is this thing that they can't change. Because marriage is a place where we help each other become the better version.
Yes.
But often after some time, we get fed up and say, this one, and then you become a kind of source of conflict. So, men, we need to learn to get groups which are deeper.
But where are we going to get those groups?
Those
Because
ones.
even the ones you're saying, who are in those groups?
Yes.
For example, I'm in a marriage fellowship. We've
Yes.
been together for like 8 years.
Yeah.
But the girls, we have our own things. We have groups.
Yes.
We get to actually sit
Additional
down
ones.
and talk. Like within, we
Yes.
can actually meet as just the girls.
Yes.
And we handle some of the issues.
Yes.
The men, I don't know. So if this is a group where people have been together
men-
for 8, I don't know.
Meaning you don't
They actually never sit down to talk about anything deep.
anything deep. Some of the work that I do, you get men to talk deep. And sometimes what you do is just give some activities and then questions to be answered. If people are answering that kind of question, they are going to go deep, all right? So now as you also go around, as people are talking, just encourage them to ask questions and use those questions to go deeper. Because there's some people, because of you name, and now you name brought us up, just say, as if you talk about a story like Amnon and Tamar. Amnon rapes his sister Tamar. There's that bit which says, and then Amnon loved his sister so much, she was so beautiful that he fell sick. Then he asked, why was Amnon depressed? Because he had a beautiful sister. That's not the answer.
Not why he's sick.
Yeah, the sister is beautiful, but then why did he have to fall sick? Is it beauty? Do you fall sick at every? Teach people to go there. Okay, now create safe space. When the people are feeling that they are falling certain questions,
underline that.
yeah, safe space.
Safe
space. They'll talk. Then they can go a little bit deeper, and then when you come back in the wrapping up, ask a question which is not on the sheet there. Even sometimes you can ask, what question did you find difficult? To get discussion. And please, I find this a lot. When you're also discussing, many facilitators are also not interested. So you also make it look like Tulim Fathers Union. Kakati. So which scripture can add on to that one? Good. So the problem is people have right answers, not right lives. That's a problem.
We know what the Bible tells us to do.
No, Amnon did this and did this here. Then so sometimes we ask, does this thing happen in society? Can somebody give an example? Because these things should become real. I'll tell you, a friend of mine did the story of Joseph running away from Potiphar's wife with street children.
Okay.
And this is what he did. He said, we're gonna have some groups here. Those who think Joseph did a good thing, decide. Yes, decide. Those who think Joseph did a bad thing, that side. All right? Those who don't know, stay in the middle. The street children, the street children's program, they split. He said, They went there, then he asked, you, what do you think? Yeah, for me, I think Joseph did a bad thing. Why? You see me, I'm a street child. If you run away, the woman will say, ooh. But because we are dirty, people chase you. The street children are analyzing the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife.
In their own
eyes. Yeah. Then one guy said, no, for me, this is what I'll do. You see, as we are dirty, I bathe, I tell the woman, hey, madam, I am dirty.
Madam.
I'm dirty.
Let me first go and
bathe, and then I come back. Which lets me bathe, I'd run off. The street children interpreted the story of Joseph
in their own wisdom.
If it had been a Bible study, this person.
How can you even say there is a wrong answer there?
But even
we all know.
And this one would want to tell you what the right answer should be.
He did a good thing. Why we don't know, but it was a good thing.
So how do we get men to feel comfortable to give an opinion a little bit outside of what people they expect? And then people say,
not to be judged for it.
Interesting perspective. Can we follow it a little bit deeper? Because sometimes that's where the lessons are. That's where the learning is.
So how do we create this safe space?
How do we create this safe space? I was talking to a certain group somewhere of fathers, and I was saying, guys, we need to understand or improve how we work with boys. I said, guys, mukule nyama. Get places where you just eat meat. Why was I saying that? From a psychological perspective, and some of those writers, what do they say? The world is very feminine. And what do they mean by that? Sit down, be organized, and talk. Talk is feminine in terms of talk and exchange ideas. And if they're talking, they're creating oxytocin, so they're feeling good about the thing. So the world, and so now because we have made that the predominant way of instruction.
So talking seems like
the way to go, and it does not necessarily work for the guys. But if you just say, okay, go, let's do some, let's go up the goat roasting, then you talk, almost you create a fireplace. And part of the things they also say, men's concentration is not as much. Yes, all right? Stereotypically, not every man, but stereotypically. Yes. If you're sitting in a discussion for 2 hours, surely a man can't just sit there for 2 hours.
Think about other things, even left.
Even the counseling rooms, they say sometimes that's what does it. He's sitting there and, because they don't want to be active. So creating safe space, you can do sports, fathers, sons. After that, just get 1 or 2 people to talk about when you're growing up, how did you get a crush? How did you handle? They're being vulnerable in a safe space. All right? But the boys are hearing, Dad got a crush, or Uncle got a crush, and then they're handling that, they're learning, how do you handle a crush? All right? So it's those sorts of things. If they can do things like activities together, that would help. I want to borrow a little bit from the people abroad, and maybe those are middle-class families. When you watch, the father and son have gone fishing, they have gone camping, they have gone whatever. So they create environments like that. In the organization where I work, one of our donors used to have a program. He brings people from UK, flies them to South Africa, and they spend a week with some selected young people mentoring. And it is such a plus. For some reason, they didn't do it in Uganda. But for me, it showed me men want to give. If somebody could create the environments and the space for that, and that they could mentor. So how do you get fathers to, mentor? Maybe organize a father camp. But as I said, give some structured thing. Because too many people women can talk naturally, and they know because of that conversation.
To everyone.
And they'll talk, and the conversation will go here. By the time they finish, they try, but they can, now that's where we need to help some men as well.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about mental health and men and how it is in our society. Don't go away. I'm Phiona Mbowa here at Church of Uganda Family TV with Ring Diaries.